To be honest, all you've brought to this table today is nothing but a bad attitude.
Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore because I quit.
Oh, really?
For good.
You won't be breaking my equipment anymore. Sup? I'm Ruddy Rutledge, and this here's some Bayou Football. Welcome to episode 2 of the Bayou Football video podcast, covering football in the great state of Louisiana. I'm still waiting on my sister and podcast co-host, Rosie Rutledge Higginbottom, to arrive here at this week's recording location. As some of you may know, things didn't work out so well towards the end of last week's debut podcast. Now, don't get me wrong, we had a good show, but towards the end of the show, our long-standing sibling rivalry reared its ugly head once again, this time in a very public setting. So while we're waiting on Rosie to arrive, and yes, I do believe she will be here, and yes, we have a big show for y'all today, I'd like to take a look back at what happened last week as my sister and I were finishing up our very first show. Take a look. Maybe she should go see the Wizard of Oz.
I'm out of here.
Follow the yellow brick road,
I'm
Rosie.
Outta here. You know you can do it with your cheap headphones. Cheap.
And there you have it. So while the Rutledge siblings didn't get off to the best of starts last week, we weren't alone in that respect. The LSU Tigers and their fan base suffered through tears and loathing in Las Vegas Sunday night as the Tigers dropped their fifth straight, 5 times, fifth straight season opener in a heartbreaking 27-20 loss to the USC Trojans. Now, there's nothing I can say here today that hadn't already been said elsewhere, but I want to give some thoughts on the game nonetheless. It was sickening to lose a game like that to open the season when you had chances to win. You didn't make the plays to win, whereas USC did. Now, Garrett Nussmeier played very well at the quarterback position. He put on one of college football's top passing performances from a statistical standpoint. But on the other side, USC quarterback Miller Moss played better. He made tight throws. He made throws into tight coverage. He dropped dimes all night long. Nuss could have and should have pushed the ball down the field more aggressively if LSU was going to have a chance to win that game. And they did have a chance to win, but he didn't push it down the field as aggressively as Moss did. Now, the defense was improved. They still have some weaknesses in the middle of the defensive line and at the cornerback position, although you saw some youngsters come on over the course of that game. I thought new defensive coordinator Blake Baker called a heck of a game. He schemed around these weaknesses better than anything we saw as far as in-game coaching last year from Matt House. Now, that is a low bar, granted, but I think LSU will continue to improve defensively throughout the course of the season. Now, offensively, play calling was a different story. I thought the play calling left a lot to be desired. You had some positives on offense, but especially when you consider Heisman Trophy winner gone, 2 first-round wide receivers gone. But to only come up with 20 points behind this much hyped offensive line, it's got to be better. It's got to be better. Will Campbell, he did a lot of talking in the week leading up to the game, and probably shouldn't have because that USC defensive line got after him. Now, LSU was good in pass protection up front, but run blocking, that left a lot to be desired. So as far as the season outlook from here on out, I think this entire season is still pretty much in front of this team. Now, if you're LSU and you want to make that 12-team playoff, there's very little room for error now. I'm talking one loss max, maybe 2 if they're really lucky and some other things shake out, depending on how things play out as far as other teams are concerned. But I don't think you can lose more than one more game here for the rest of the season if you want to make that playoff. But looking ahead to this week's game with Nicholls State, this game's meaningless. LSU's going to come out and smash Nicholls State. They're going to run up the score. They're going to do whatever they want to do offensively and defensively. And no matter what happens in the game, nothing's going to change anybody's mind about what they think about this team or what they think about Brian Kelly, who I still believe is a very good football coach. But we won't be able to assess this team's progress until the next USC game, and that is against the University of South Carolina on the road, September 14th. South Carolina is a very tough place to play, very tough stadium to play in, rowdy crowd. I'm getting a text here from my sister that says she's on her way, so we'll take her at her word. And at that, here's a word from our sponsor. Are you looking to take your business to the next level, but you don't quite know how to take that final step? Chances are you're in need of the right team of salespeople. When you call on RepStaff, rest assured, they'll find them and you'll have them. RepStaff is a full-service recruiting firm specializing in the recruitment of qualified, highly skilled outside sales reps. With their extensive network and access to vast talent pools and pipelines, RepStaff will connect you with high-quality candidates delivering swift results with a personalized touch. Time is precious these days, so if you're ready to grow your business while saving valuable hours, call on RepStaff today. They have years of experience recruiting high-performing sales reps. Don't delay your success a moment longer. Contact RepStaff right away. Welcome back. As you can see, my co-host and sister, Rosie Rutledge Higginbottom, has finally joined us today. Hopefully she won't go into a fit of rage and destroy any more equipment. You know you owe me a pair of headphones, right?
You know I'll just get up and walk out of here if you start again, right?
Okay, let's just begin, shall we? The New Orleans Saints begin their 2024 season this Sunday in the Superdome against the Carolina Panthers. And before we get off our season preview with the Saints, I'd like to ask you a question, sis. Do you like Clint Eastwood?
Not particularly.
Oh, that makes total sense. Well, he made a movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And that's what we're going to call this here Saints preview. And I'll start us off with the good. And that's the Saints defense. These guys are the Clint Eastwood of this year's team. They will lean on Cam Jordan up front on the defensive line and Carl Granderson with him. You have two good linebackers in Demario Davis and Pete Werner in the middle, and four capable corners in the secondary with the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, on the back end. So that's the good. But unfortunately, there's some bad. So what you got?
Dennis Allen.
That's it? Just a name?
The name of the head coach. He's a terrible head coach. He's a good defensive coach. Terrible head coach. Never had a winning season. Not one. What more you want?
Okay, I'm detecting a bit of an attitude today, but I'll go ahead and do the ugly. And that would be the Saints' offensive line. Going by the preseason, this group looks like hot garbage. They drafted a left tackle in the first round, Talise Fuaga. And, well, he played right tackle for Oregon State. The Saints think he can play left tackle. That remains to be seen. And other than that, this offensive line is basically a human sieve. Everything gets through. I hope it's not the case, but this O-line could very well cause the season to go into a tailspin early on. I said during the draft they should draft offensive tackles in the first round and the second round. They knew offensive tackle, right tackle Ryan Ramczyk was bad off with his knee. They did nothing but hope and wish and dreamcast that he would just magically just get better, and that didn't happen. And now it looks like he may never play the game again, which brings us to the quarterback position. And now I don't want to just hammer on David Carr.
Derek?
Like everybody.
His name's Derek.
Derek Carr. Yes, I know, Derek. You know, this is like one of those things people mix up once and they never can get it right again. Like, you know, when you're in high school and you're learning greater than, less than or something, and you just can't figure it out, and it gets into a bad habit, and you just get it wrong every single time. I understand the differences between Derek and David Carr. David is a former number 1 overall pick, bust, who actually turned into a decent TV analyst. But as far as Derek, He played well towards the end of the season last year, but with this offensive line, I feel like on a good day, he'll be a better than average quarterback. But if he has a bad day, the Saints offense is going to look like a train wreck. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I've never had any problems with greater than, less than.
Anything you want to add about Derek Carr, the Saints quarterback?
Yeah, I'm ready for Spencer Rattler. Sooner the better.
Okay, well, that's certainly an opinion. I liked the Rattler pick in the 5th round, and with his mobility, might actually not be a bad thing with this Saints offensive line, and he may well take the reins one day. But it ain't going to be in 2024 as long as David Carr.
Help! Derek!
Derek. Now, let's just shift gears here. I'd like to discuss a positive for the Saints, and that is a man by the name of Taysom Hill. New offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak is going to maximize this guy's talent like old Petey Carmichael never even dreamed of. Taysom's a bad man. He can line up at quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end, shortstop, point guard, crane operator. I wouldn't be shocked to see him behind the concession stands in the Superdome whipping up one of those $22 Crown and Cokes. But he's tough, he's durable, he's explosive, and he deserves to be wearing that C on his chest finally, like he will this year, because he was voted to wear it by his captains by his teammates as one of the captains of this year's team.
Oh, yeah, I love me some Taysom. The Storm Mormon deserves that captaincy.
Yes, he does, and hopefully the Saints can keep running back Alvin Kamara happy. He seems to have a fluid situation going on with his contract, but he's a tremendous offensive weapon, and they can use all those they can get this season. But I don't like the wide receiver depth. You essentially have 2 number 2s in Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, but you don't have that big number 1 target, that big possession receiver that Carr can look to when the protection breaks down, which conceivably could happen every time he drops back to throw the ball. So, predictions for this year's Saints season, I'll go first. Saints win the Super Bowl in the Superdome and become just the 3rd team ever to win the championship in their home stadium. Just kidding. 9-8 again. Missed the playoffs again. A bold prediction it ain't. But the Saints seem destined for perpetual mediocrity under this current setup. Good defense, bad offense, mid-first round draft pick, and around and around and around we go. So how about you? Prediction.
Same.
That's your entire prediction.
Same.
Well, we'll be back after these messages, and hopefully my co-host here will have adjusted her terrible attitude. Is your Aussie Shepherd female single and looking to doggy mingle? Would you like to gift your significant other or your children with a litter of thoroughbred Australian Shepherd puppies? Then look no further than Arthur the Bayou Party Dog. At 84 pounds, this stud is practically a freak. A handsome, super intelligent, playful, athletic, affectionate, AKC registered Australian Shepherd freak. So if your Aussie female is hot and heavy for some doggy loving, hit us up. You can find this stud here at Arthur the Party Dog on Instagram. And you can hit us on X, YouTube, and Facebook at Bayou Footbaw. Links in the comments. This stud will take care of your girl dog's needs like only a boy dog can. So don't hesitate. Arthur will knock your bitch up for a reasonable fee. Don't wait. Act now. For our final segment this week, we're going to rank the top 5 players who played for both LSU and the Saints. Now, Louisiana has 2 big football teams with overlapping fan bases that, for the most part, root for both teams. Tigers on Saturday, Saints on Sunday. So you'll start, Rosie, and give your choice for player number 5, and then based on that pick, I'll pick number 4, and based on that, you'll pick number 3, and so on and so on. So top 5 players who played for both LSU and the Saints. Go ahead with number 5.
Okay, so number 5 is Hokie Gajan. Great running back for LSU and the Saints in the late 70s and 80s. He actually led the NFL in yards per carry in 1984.
Hokie was a great one, and he'll never be forgotten. For my pick number 4, I've got the Honey Badger Tyrann Mathieu. Now, we've already mentioned him once today as a current New Orleans Saint. He had an incredible season for LSU in 2011 when he was a Heisman Trophy finalist as a defensive back. Very difficult to do. Just inflicted total chaos on opposing offenses and special teams units his entire time at LSU. Good pro career so far. Won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. He's had maybe I'd say a less than stellar career so far in New Orleans, but he is on the back end of his career now, and he could play a key role on a great defense in New Orleans this coming season. I would have the Badger higher, but he's only worn the black and gold for 2 years so far, going on 3.
Well, I would have the Honey Badger higher. But number 3 is Devery Henderson. Super Bowl champion for the Saints receiver in 2009. A national champion for LSU in 2003. Ultimate winner for both teams.
Yeah, well, ultimate winner in football means you were on a great team, but this is about individual players. So, and that's not a knock on Devery, though. My number 2 choice is wide receiver Eric Martin. Now, this guy was highly underrated, and frankly, more LSU and Saints fans need to know about him.
Well, count me in on that, because compared to Honey Badger and Devery, he was mid.
Mid, huh? Mid, you say? Had a Pro Bowl season for the Saints in 1988. Had, over 8,000 career receiving yards. Currently 3rd in Saints history in receiving yards, behind only Marcus Colston and Michael Thomas.
Eric Martin was never a champion and should not be compared to Devery or Honey Badger in any universe.
Okay. So, how about number 1?
Our number 1 is unquestionably Dalton Hilliard.
Well, no argument there from me. Dalton had the numbers and the longevity. He had 5,000 offensive yards, 50 touchdowns in 4 years at LSU, 6,400 yards, 53 touchdowns, and 8 seasons for the Saints. And had 18 tutties in 1989 for the Saints to go with over 1,200 yards rushing.
Yeah, and there should be more on this list, but that egomaniac, Sean Payton, swore off LSU players for 15 years. And I have to say again, Ruddy, putting Eric Martin ahead of Devery Henderson and Honey Badger is wacky. You must be taking some substances with our brother Duck.
Oh, really? Really? Well, I'd expect no less of a brain-dead comment from somebody that thinks Serena Williams is the greatest tennis player of all time ahead of all the men.
She is the greatest.
You know, I hate to say this. Matter of fact, I expected more from a podcast host when we started this thing. I mean, you're a great writer, Rosie, but this talking stuff's not for everybody, and I got to keep it 100. To be honest, all you've brought to this table today is nothing but a bad attitude.
Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore, because I quit.
Oh, really?
For good.
You won't be breaking my equipment anymore. Here we are again, one big happy family. It appears this is a toxic work environment. Just please like and subscribe, guys. We will be back next week. Either way, this podcast will continue. Hopefully my brother will come down and join me at some point. So be sure to like, subscribe, and check out our website, BayouFootbaw.com. And someone will be back next week, I guarantee it. Who dat? And go Tigers.